Now let's take a look at the first time. Now this is not the first time that Iran and Israel has engaged in war. The only difference now is that the US are directly involved. Now the first time it happened was in 13th of April, right here. Now what happened? Same thing, it happened over the weekend. And immediately on Monday open, you see it was a large red candle, right? Now, then we already rejected the 20-day moving average, and 5-day was starting to trend down because of this large red candle. It retested the bottom Bollinger immediately, and it continued trending down for a while. Now, here's the thing you need to know about war. It always recovers, the stock market. It always recovers. There is not one time it hasn't, right? The only thing is in what time frame. But it seems that recent wars are very contained. They do not escalate further to become complicated global problems. And so the market does recover very quickly thereafter. So short term, you do expect some sort of red days. And structurally, if you're here long enough, you see, if you know about the bottom Bollingers that I always talk about and how the 5-day always trend together with it. Now, this is a technique that you have already learned when I talked about Netflix, for example. So let's talk about Netflix. You see it for yourself, right? When you see Netflix, and I talked about this the last time, yes, if you remember, see how the trend down happened, right? Once we started trending down, it's following not just the bottom Bollinger, but also the 5-day moving average. You see that for yourself. Now, the bounce only happened once we reclaimed the 5-day. You see, once we reclaimed 5-day, this was safe to go long back then, right? I talked about this. Yeah, you remember this. I talked about this, right? About the falling knife. And you see there's always opportunities, right? In fact, I told you it's always a good opportunity to buy Netflix on the way down, right? That was about a couple of months ago. It's a great business, and you see that happening now, right? With obviously this is a news catalyst, but I just want you to see this happening. Understand with regards to the bottom Bollinger, right? Now, there was a second time that Iran attacked Israel. And this was in 1st October, right? Not so impactful anymore, isn't it? But still a red day. But you see that the market recovered quite quickly. Now, the reason because of the 20-day moving average was not broken at all. So you see we continued staying within the 20-day moving average. So this was inconsequential. And lastly, the one I want to talk to you about was the Ukraine war. At the start of the video, I used that to give you a very simple example why not all the time you cannot predict where the market is going. You absolutely cannot. Now, the only difference between this, right, so this gap down, you have to understand, Ukraine war with Russia started, the market gapped down, right? This was opening candle. Yeah, it gapped down before they started buying the dip. You understand the logic behind this. So there was strong red movement, right? The market started selling pre-market. And because we were under the bottom Bollinger, there were plenty of liquidity to buy it up right here. Now, this was also during a period of time where there was very suppressed demand. So buying the dip was somehow the solution here. But once the war and obviously inflationary problems started occurring, you see how we started going down to new lows here. This was one of the newer lows. Now, obviously, because of also inflationary problems, back then, the inflation was mistakenly to be transitory. And so you see it happened together, compounded with the economic reasons back then. But I just want to show you again, right? Pre-market, it turned red. So there was a short-term red. And the market always somewhat recovers. But you have to be looking out for whether there is, in this case, aftermath in the war. Because if it has crippled, for example, supply chains, if it has caused deep inflationary problems, or in this case, in the Middle East, if it has caused energy shortages because oil is being shipped through the Straits of Hormuz, which is affected now, right? Especially if it's a war area. And this war